Hey, everybody. All 8 of you. I'm Fran Stevenson.
And Jennifer Hatton.
And we're going to answer your social pain points today on Step In Communications Facebook page. It's our first ever live for ourselves, right? Usually we do them for clients and we're way in the background and no one sees us. But today we're coming out of the shadows and sharing answers, hopefully, to some of the questions that you've asked us in the last 24 hours. So we're going to get right to it. So, Jen, I'm going to throw out the first question that I think you're going to answer.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and drop our link over in the event page so people will know that we're live.
Okay, cool.
Quick.
All right.
I'll do it really quick because I don't think I can talk and do that.
We're pretty excited about this. This is a big step for us over here at Step In Communication. And we have about 4 questions we're going to share with you today and hopefully some strategies for you to answer them. Ooh. My whole screen went away for a moment there. Okay.
All right, I'm waiting for it to show. Up here.
Okay. Yeah, there's a little bit of a lag time. So, all right.
So we're live now.
Excellent.
I'm going to share it over copy link.
Just so everybody can find us.
Yes.
Today, tomorrow, or when you're up in the middle of the night worried about some of these pain points. Somebody just asked if they need to get a link to the broadcast. Dropping one in the feed right now. Oh. Of course, my Pages manager is not working right now. Okay. How are we going? Are we ready to get started?
Yes, it's over there, so we can go now.
Excellent. Okay. So we've had about 4 questions that people either asked us on the event discussion wall or privately. And so we're going to take a few moments to answer a couple of those for you today. And the first one, Jen's going to answer because this is, her sweet spot. The first question is, how do you handle a content desert? And I think, Jen, you need to also explain what a content desert is for those who that's our insider term for something.
All right. So a content desert is when you are going through a period of time that you really don't have a lot to talk about or post about. An example would be maybe you do a lot of events or you run the social for something that's related to a season or a sport. And so during the off season, you don't have as much content and things to talk about. So we usually call them either content Christmas or content desert, where content Christmas is you have so much stuff you're trying to figure out how to get it all in on your social channels. And then the content desert would be the opposite, where you're like, what am I going to post today? What am I going to post today? So there are multiple things that you can do when you are in a content desert. And the first thing that I always like to go back to is that you should have an editorial calendar. And your editorial calendar should have different categories or streams of content. And this is something that we go into a lot more depth. We've talked about on the blog, and we also talk about in our course, really in depth on how to set up your categories and your content and where to find content. But a lot of times setting up those categories so that you have different themes of types of content that you talk about on your pages is really, really helpful. And repurposing content is great. If you're for example, let's say a medical place, are there awards or are there new classes or designations that your doctors or nurses or your facilities have received over the last few months that you could talk about? This is a great time to go back and talk about your mission or your purpose of your organization, provide educational insights or information. Also, I'm a huge fan of doing Throwback Thursday and Follow Back Friday. Not only are they fun and a great way to look back for you as an organization, but it's a really great way for people that might be new to following you to know some of the things that you've done. It builds rapport. It builds you up and shows that you have experience in whatever field or industry that you're in. And I know we use those on StepIn, and it's just a lot of fun for us to look back and see the things that we've done, but also show people the different types of clients we've worked for and with, and also showing the different types of like events and activations we've done. So really just sitting back and thinking about, what stuff that you can pull up to use for a Throwback Thursday or Follow Back Friday. What are some basics that are about your organization that maybe a new follower wouldn't know? All of those things are okay to go back and remind and fill in. And also another great thing to do is look at those fun holiday calendars. Like today happens to be National Dog Day.
That's right.
Could you, share pictures of your dogs, or your staff talk about, working from remotely from home with their favorite pets? Maybe it's National Pizza Day and your staff and employees can talk about what their favorite pizza toppings are. That helps people get to know the people inside your organization. So while it's silly and fun, it's still providing a purpose.
That's a great idea. Also, let's not forget the fabulous brand content that you should be developing over time that identifies to people who you are, what your mission is, what you're about. And you can always pull out a few did you know kind of, posts about your mission. And I know we had one client a few years ago that we used a lot of posts about their mission because they didn't have a lot of events and they were trying to, get people to understand their identity. So yeah, that's a good one. All right. Good start. Okay, so the second question comes from Jessica Palmer. Thank you for sending your question in advance, Jessica. She wants to know about fake reviews. What do you do about fake reviews from people who aren't even your clients? Oh my gosh, what a loaded question, right?
Yes.
So I'm going to tackle this one. So this is a struggle for so many brands right now, because fake reviews are everywhere. I mean, you see them on every single channel, whether it's on popular sites where people buy a lot of stuff and they deliver to you overnight, and you know who I'm talking about, or whether it's on, individual social media channels or on your Google My Business profile and review. Fake reviews are everywhere. And it is a problem. And people have talked about it and how to minimize it. And, there are some brands that are doing a good job of sort of identifying them, calling them out in sort of a super nice way, but yet, kind of bringing the dialogue back to what's real. So there's a couple things. First of all, if it's a random one, you're going to do one set of things versus if you're in a crisis, there's a different set of things to do, right? So if it's rando, and we have a lot of those, somebody just comes on. We had a client years ago whose mission was something in health and human services. They were a not very large nonprofit. And someone, Jennifer remembers this very well, kept coming on our pages and posting in reviews and things about saving the whales and giving bad reviews because you're not saving the whales. And we're like, we're all about saving the whales, baby, but just not in this nonprofit organization. Yeah. So
she was persistent.
Well, yes. And the struggle for brands is particularly that usually the review function, you are locked from deleting it, which would be the easiest and most expedient way to do it. Well, and a lot of people are against deleting reviews. But to me, if they are completely not genuine and they're off track, there's a couple of things I do. First of all, if it's a social network where you can comment publicly on the review, then we try to say something as a brand. Well, we appreciate, but are you sure you're in the right place, or thank you very much for your comment, or something. Like, you try and acknowledge it and you have to be a little bit clever in sort of your acknowledging that you're crazy kind of person. The other thing is if they include and they're still we're in the random category, if they include inflammatory speech or swear words, or they make accusations, or they call people names, then I automatically report those to the social network, because most of them have a terms of service that do not permit hate speech, swear words, etc. So, those are not immediate. Like, they don't get whisked away in 5 minutes. Sometimes it takes weeks. I used to manage a multiple location retail for Google My Business, and I would go back and check on those that were like that, and sometimes they would take weeks. They would eventually be removed. I think the other thing is if they do it repeatedly, then what we try and do is start to hide them, and then we'll block the person from the page. So if we're using the analogy of the person whose conversation had nothing to do with the subject of our client on their page, then eventually we would block them. And we have a 3 strikes you're out recommendation for most of our clients. If they come onto your page 3 different times posting the exact same thing in a really spammy way, whether it's a fake review or it's a fake horror, then we block them. But of course, it's very important to screen grab everything so you have a record of it. Now, if it's a crisis, that's a whole different ball of wax. There's a common tactic now when people take over Facebook pages that they know if somebody is against your cause or against your product or service, they know that reviews are like the soft underbelly, that you can't do anything about a bad review. Well, you can, because you can unpublish the reviews. And many times, if we've had a client that a crisis is brewing and people start putting all of these random reviews that they have never used the product or the service or visited the destination or been to that location or were a client, then it's just a mob, really. It's just a bunch of bullies that have come around and decided what they're going to do. So we unpublish the review function for a period of time. Now, you can do that on Facebook pretty handily. You can't do it necessarily in Yelp and some of the other social networks, but that way it just gives you some breathing room. So if they're trying to, in a crisis mode, take over your Facebook page, it allows you to then at least concentrate the dialogue in a specific spot, which is on the wall, the discussion wall. So I think the key is it relevant to anything in your business? And if not, there's got to be a gentle way to call out and say, I'm sorry, but we don't do that in our business. So I'm not really sure where your review is coming from. Or thank you very much for taking the time to give a review, but we don't think you've ever used our business. I see no harm in it, because people are very volatile these days. And, a lot of people look at reviews, and they'll at least look if you as a brand have tried to comment or respond to the reviews. So that's a loaded question. Did I miss anything, Jen?
I'm going to say, I think that people recognize that people are either crazy happy to stop and do a review, or they had a horrible experience. That it's one or the other that usually versus the middle of the road that makes people stop.
True.
And so if they scroll through, everybody knows no one can be always 100%. Some days your, front desk person isn't going to be the happiest. So, but if they see the brand responding and acknowledging and answering, I think that's the most powerful as a consumer, is seeing that they're involved or that they feel sincere. And those responses, I think, are some going to be impacted by how you are on social, period. So say we have some larger clients that are very politically correct. They're very careful on social. They're not silly or funny. And so they would definitely have a more, like, their decorum would be like, thank you, and like a little bit more, where we have some that are smaller and that are very outspoken. And then they would be able to come on and actually be like, no, you never showed up. I've never seen you. Yeah. You can call them out a little bit more depending on how your brand talks on social. True. And True. What your persona is. And the other piece to remember is that even if you block somebody, like my Saving the Whale lady, their review stays. So
Right,
you can
correct.
block people and then their review and everything that they put goes around away with it. And I think that's something I see people get confused with a lot. Like, oh, well, I'll just remove people from my page. You still will have to, like on Facebook, submit to have it reviewed and try to get it taken off.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the hard part, is some of those things do sit there, but we're stuck with that feature, and if we could alter it, we would. So yeah, true. Okay. So our next question came in a private message, and it was, how do you ask for page likes for your business page? I think Jen is perfectly capable of this one.
So a couple of different things. If you're trying to increase the likes on your page, and by the use of likes, I'm assuming that they're specifically talking about Facebook. So I'm a big fan, first of all, of asking people to do things. If you want them to like a post or share a post or comment on a post, like letting people know, your fans, people that support you, what you need for them to do. But as far as getting them to like or become a fan or follower of your page, cross-posting is really helpful. If you're trying to build up your likes over on Instagram or Facebook, and you have a really strong following on Twitter, is letting people know, hey, we're over on Facebook. Make sure, and follow us. Or, hey, would you give us a follow over on Instagram? Is making sure that you periodically, maybe there's one message a month per channel that pushes people to where else they can find you on the internet. And if they're a fan in one place, most likely they'll be a fan and a follower in another.
Very true.
If you are a brick and mortar, say that you're a boutique or something like that, asking people, having signage, cards, things like that. I've seen some people put it on their business card, but just reminding them, if they, come and they make a sale and they're happy, saying, hey, would you mind liking us on Facebook and keeping up? Or, like for a boutique, you can say we announce sales and special hours and things like that, is letting them know what benefits they're going to get from your page, what is going to benefit them, what kind of resources, services, specials, things that you're going to provide, so that you're not only asking them to do something for you, but you're telling them what they're going to get out of it and why you need them to do it. Also, say that you're something like a service industry, like real estate. In your thank you card, you can say, love selling your house. Thank you so much. We hope you enjoy it for years to come. I know most of my family is either a realtor in the mortgage industry, but usually you're great about sending like welcome gifts and things like that. It's okay to say, hey, we would really appreciate you, giving us a review, liking our Facebook page. I would pick one or two things that you want that satisfied customer to do, and ask and just be very clear about it. The last thing that really sticks out is for Facebook, especially Instagram as well, as run a like campaign. They're very inexpensive. Mm-hmm. You can target people who are in the area with the interest, the age, everything that you need. And I would recommend doing those periodically to just help build fans. You can point people to those that are friends with people who already like your page, but I would just slowly start to expand and, do the paid campaign. And one other one that I thought of too is, if you have a periodic post that you can ask your fans to share, that encourages them to share things on their page to bring in some of their friends as well. So those are a couple strategies.
Yeah,
what else?
Don't forget the basics. One thing, a lot of times when we're looking at, starting off with a new client or whatever, we find out that the little icons on their website for Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter are blank. They never directed them to their own social media channels. And likewise, in your signature line of your emails, like, use all of the real estate available to you to promote that page. So
that's so true. Going back to the basics. And this is something that we talk about, like with influencers, when we're looking at influencers to represent our brands, is so many times I go to their pages and their links are not working. Their contact us, their Facebook, their Instagram. So make it easy on people to find you. Your website should have that available. And even, your Facebook, your Twitter, they should be able to find you from wherever they enter your social media digital sphere. They should be able to find you where else you are in that universe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. That's a great question. And I know a lot of people struggle with that. Okay, so now we're up to our fourth question, which This one comes from our friend Alyssa Bailey Smith, and it's a loaded question. It's a big question. That's why we saved it for last. What do you do when a client makes a strategy error? Could it tank a brand's reputation? And that is, wow. Part of our job is to counsel our clients on their social strategy and make recommendations. And, it's a collaborative effort. Sometimes it's us giving recommendations and sometimes we're taking them from the client, but often it's very give and take, which is great because that's a sign of a great relationship with your client. But, I think in today's fast moving social media world, almost everything is recoverable. So I feel like if you take a small misstep, it's not necessarily fatal because people will forget. I was looking back over old posts the other day and I had written something about a crisis and I'd given the 3 or 4 case studies that, talked about it. And when I read through them, I was like, oh my God, I forgot all about that. And they were, sort of social related crises that at the time were, the biggest thing happening. And so I think that really can guide you in knowing if it's going to be, fatal or not. I really think that unless whatever's happening has sparked a full-blown crisis or a page takeover or people being just horrified and sending you, DMs and negativity and stuff, I do think it can be recoverable. But I also think that, a lot of times that's part of your social listening program is, if you feel like you're stepping out into an area that you're nervous about, then we always recommend monitoring more heavily in the social universe to see if there are effects, if there is backlash, and also analyzing the statistics about whether it's a content stream or a new point of view or something in a new channel. Let the data help you decide. We all make, social media is an emotional platform. We make lots of emotional decisions about it. And it's real easy with the way the algorithms work that, you may only see one side of an opinion if people are taking a position or another. And so I think, having the data tell you, is all of a sudden your engagement out of whack to what it's been in previous years? Are you all of a sudden getting a bunch of new fans? And that could be a good reason, but could also be people that want to, give you what for kind of thing. So I think that's one of the takeaways there. I do think we also, as social media managers, we often tend to take it personally because we often treat the channels like they're our kids, and you got to keep the kids in line. but
it's a reflection on us.
The counselor role is the really important thing. And it is a collaboration between you and the client. I haven't seen too many that were fatal. I think there were a few, but a lot of them, seem to find a way to bring themselves back up. And many brands will, if something happened to them that was really terrible, like they were really off, they might rebrand completely, which could change their social. But I also think, as third party, that's what we are. We're third party social media managers. We're often behind the scenes. That's why, we don't do a lot of like Facebook Live. It's our job to kind of say, here's what we're seeing. Here's the good, here's the bad, here's the indifferent. And, really it usually is the client's call in the long run. We can just really present what it is we're seeing. And if we have a reference point of, having seen it before, what we should do. But, and actually that's kind of what got us started in this journey that, we've just launched our first online course about, brand management on social media. And we have a whole section about dealing with angry customers and happy customers. And a lot of what we've talked about today kind of reflects some of those, some of those lessons. So anyway, it's been an interesting sort of exercise because we get a lot of examples from, the work we've done with clients over the years. But we love being the third party managers. We really do.
I think you hit it right on the head. Is like, not because you spend a lot of time and you do your best to give advice to clients, whether you're in-house or you're a consultant, but that is stepping back and saying, if it doesn't work out, like you give them your best advice, you've built a really strong relationship with them, but sometimes people just have something or a vision in their head and they really want to try it.
Yeah.
And so letting them try it and then monitoring so that you can come back and say, like, this isn't looking so great, or it's not doing so well, or we're starting to get negative feedback. If you stay on top of it,
sometimes it might work.
Yeah, sometimes it might work. Exactly. But like you said, we've weathered a lot of crisis stuff over the years for clients, and jumped in on clients that weren't ours to help with crises. And I really can't think of anything that were completely that were fatal, that they couldn't recover from, or step back and adjust. And thankfully that doesn't happen super often. So just not taking it personal and making that adjustment and just keeping them up to date. So if they do change their mind or want to change course, I feel like a lot of times when we're advising clients and they want to do something different, it's more of, instead of it being like a really bad decision, it's something that it feels off for the brand maybe. And those are even easier to recover from. It's kind of like, well, that set of ads was a head scratcher, but then you move on and people forget about it like 2 weeks later. Yeah. So it's okay.
Yeah. Well, and I think the key for us and for a brand, whether you're an in-house manager or you're an out-of-house third-party social media manager, is flexibility. Social changes so frequently. There's so many, new and different things to try all the time. And so I think the flexibility is always the key to managing through any, potential, maybe things that didn't hit, the target the way you wanted them to. And honestly, I mean, that's what makes it fun, is that it's different every day. But so what we've done today, in order to wrap up, see, this is about being flexible and trying new things, is about 10 minutes before we were going to go live, the platform we were going to use to go live wasn't working. So in less than 10 minutes, Jen MacGyver Hatton figured out a secondary platform, and here we are. So we probably haven't done a great job of monitoring any questions in the stream because we couldn't manage the extra layer, but that's okay. We'll answer all your questions, as a follow-up. And we're going to throw a couple of links in the feed here to illustrate some of our answers. We've got some blog posts that we think will give you some additional learning if you want to dive into some of the answers to these questions a little bit more. And if you think today was helpful, then check out our new online course, Mastering Your Brand on Social Media. We've got 38 lessons in 4 sessions and 17 downloadables, including templates, cheat sheets, and all sorts of checklists to get you pointed in the right direction. So thanks for sharing your pain points today.
Yeah, thank y'all so much that sent them in through DM and commented. And hopefully we'll get some more and we can do it again because it was fun now that we know the technology.
Awesome. Y'all have a great Wednesday afternoon.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.